how do we want to do this? Do we want to talk about the potential Calgary the Flames coaching rumor situation now or in the Pinder report?
Rhett's shaking it off. Rhett, what do you think? What's going on here?
Well, we can, it's great. Elliot came out and said, or whoever said, I don't know, broke the news.
Yeah, tell it.
Huska's the favorite. We've discussed Huska and Love, it seems like. So announce it, and then come on the show and tell us how you're going to coach these guys.
Yeah.
And make them not be a bunch of sissies. Let's go.
No sissies allowed.
Let's make sure that and that's not even the right word. What I'm trying to searching for a word. They're going to show up and play every game, right, Mr. Huska?
I think everyone knows what you're getting at, Rhett. The coaching excuse is no longer there. There's a new coach, whether it's Love or Huska or someone else, and it sounds like it's going to be Huska. Now it's work boots and lunch pail time. There's no more whining and complaining. Now's the time for this core to show up and work their tails off.
It's amazing how much pull Iginla has.
I was gonna say, boy, that's long. Once a Blazer, always a Blazer, I guess. Is that how it goes? That friggin' team is still haunting people. All these years later.
Hey, if Wayne can get all his pals into the hall, this is pretty minor on the scale of, toeing the line for pals.
So I think it's, again, who are we to say we don't know how Mitch Love coached just last year or would coach coming up or how the interview process went. But obviously, Huska's been in the mix for a long time. So,
yeah,
give him a shot. Give her, man.
For those that don't know what the hell I was going to say, for those that don't know what the hell we're talking about, last night during the hockey game, Elliot Friedman came on and said that while nothing is done, and I'm paraphrasing, things are pointing towards Huska being hired as the new head coach of the Calgary Flames. Now, we had talked about it as recently as yesterday, saying that this feels like about the time where we want you to take the job. Let's get a contract figured out over the weekend. Get yourself set, and then Monday press conference, perhaps. That's kind of how we saw this potentially playing out, so not stunned. The only reason I bring it up, Retro, is I think that I know for myself, I was kind of focused. It just felt like, okay, Mitch Love's going to be the guy. And then the question was, well, why Love more than Huska or somebody else? Has he done something that they haven't? And it's
different resumes, yeah.
Different resumes, but the path is kind of the same. Junior to
Western
pro.
League to AHL to...
You don't know, and we don't know what Huska's relationship with the guys in the room is. That might be the biggest piece of the puzzle, right?
The other thing that's tough is like, okay, so they were super tight in the D zone 2 years ago, and they were right there for the Jennings till the end of the year. I think they allowed the fewest even strength goals in the league 2 years ago, and you're like, wow, Ryan Huska's coaching the D, and then this year they were shit in their own zone. But we also don't know what like Daryl's overruling on. No, we have to do it this way, and it's the same with the power play. It's like trying to assign credit to AGMs for shit. You never know whether he was like banging his fist on the table, don't do this, or like we have to get this done. It's really tough to assign credit to assistants because everything's running through the head guy anyway, whether that's GMs or coaches. But the penalty kill has been superb for a while, and that's his department. I mean, it's just hard to sift through what's his department versus what the coach is saying. No, we have to do it this way.
And all of those things are important for me. I've talked about it for decades since I retired. The guys. It's more about making sure you get the most out of your players because you can give them this system or that. If they're not showing up with the energy to do the job, with the excitement to want to play, and with the passion to want to win, the rest of that shit don't matter.
Yeah, he's got a room to fix, doesn't he?
Yes, fix the room. That's your first. I don't care what you do on the penalty kill. If your room is no good, you ain't winning.
That's fair.
I think in this day and age, there aren't many coaches that don't know the game. Right? Maybe there was a time, and we talked to Matt Stajan yesterday, an interview that'll be coming out, and he talked about Pat Quinn, and really it was less about, and then Keenan was the same way, right? It was less about fundamentals and X's and O's. It was more of the, which sounds kind of silly.
The other thing,
archaic but I was gonna say, coaches know how to coach. It's like you say, it's the relationships. How can you get through to players?
The other thing that, sorry I interrupted you there, but the other thing that with coaching nowadays is there's so much info for the guys to get on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like everything is readily available. Hey, I got to see that play I just made, or I want to see what they did on that 2-on-1, or what are they doing on a penalty kill or the power, right? Like it's instant availability. Most of the guys, I would think, would have access to all that stuff. Hey, you're sitting at home bored. I'm going to check out that. Well, who do we play tomorrow? Phoenix. Okay, I'm going to check out their penalty kill. Right? Like
Totally.
those are all things that are easily available for the players now. So I think it's almost, yes, there's X's and O's and there's systems you want to implement and there's style you want to play, but I think it's about creating energy and passion and excitement. And
they've
even got that. The other stuff's there.
You look at John Cooper in Tampa, and the first half of that, I don't even know what we call it, dynasty or this era of Tampa hockey. Like Rick Bowness was the assistant, and Rick was really strong on X's and O's, and John's job was to relate to the player and get them to buy in. And you don't have to be. I think of it similar to Connie. Like he doesn't have to understand the nuances of every corner of the CBA and be a wizard in LTIR. You just need someone around you that you can empower and trust. To Rhett's point, it's about for the coach like. This room wasn't right, and there's some ingredients that have been to why it wasn't right that aren't here anymore, but there's still some that remain. Connie's might move a couple more in or out. We'll see, but your job is to somehow get all these guys to come back together in the fall and start harmoniously. You've got to get this. You can't let this fester into a second season.
We had the Huska resume up on screen for those that are just listening. The track record: 5 years assistant coach with the Kelowna Rockets in the Western League, then 7 years as Rockets head coach, winning a championship in there. Comes to the Flames 4 years as the head coach between Adirondack, Adirondack, and then 3 years in Stockton. So 4 years head coach of the AHL affiliate, and since 5 years behind the bench as an assistant. So 11 across the Western League and pro, 11 years as a head coach, 5 years NHL assistant coach. And yes, teammate of Jerome McGinley for a couple of years back to his playing days in Kamloops. So Brad Lukowich and Randy Petruk and Ashley Buckberger, soon to be joining the franchise.
Rod Branch, wasn't he the goalie?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, what about buddy out at the Edge School? Is the Edge School going to be looking for a coach because Dupont didn't he play didn't Mickey Dupont play?
Did he play there too?
I think he was a Blazer, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. I'm getting old, but maybe it makes sense. Maybe there's something there. I don't know.
I wonder what. We don't know a ton about Mitch Love, aside that he's had 4 really good years in a row coaching whatever level he's coached. Are you hopeful they can bring him up, make him associate? Would you rather leave him in the A as the head? Like, there's not a lot of openings right now. I don't know that the risk of him leaving now is super high, but you also, just like you worried about if you gave it to Love, what happens to Huska, I think there's even more concern about what happens to Love if it is going to be Huska. Or do you promote him? Do you leave him? What are your thoughts, Rhett?
Wow, I think you leave him, and it's going to be up to him too, right? If he's pursuing a head coaching job, sometimes it doesn't always happen like it did for Huska, where you're the assistant and then step into head coaching, right? And you don't know. Sometimes once you start the assistant coaching path, you get stuck in that role. Mm-hmm. So it'll depend. It's up to Love. The other thing you got to remember is that these aren't assets that you get to keep and trade and move around. You can't hold a guy back if he's destined to be good. You made a decision to go with Ryan Huska. You go with it, and you can't try and keep a guy in the wings just in case down the road, right? So it is what it is. You make a choice at the time when you have to make it. And listen, coaching's not going to die. It's not like there's not going to be another coach that comes along. Ryan Huska probably won't be the coach of the Flames for 15, 20 years. There'll be new coaches, right? Yeah. Guys that get in it and that are good or bad. There's always coaches out there.
Yeah, you just don't want this to be the one that got away. And I'm not saying he is, but I also look at those points percentages, and it's like you probably had some good teams, but damn it, he wins every year. Look at 721, 579, 729, 713, like those. And then this year, 736. That's tidy numbers.
I look at it if Huska's your guy, he's your guy. And like I'm kind of with Rhett on that. I'm sure Mitch Love is a great coach, and maybe you look down the road and think, man, you had the second coming of Scotty Bowman, and he left. My concern would be if it's Huska, what do you want?
Yeah, that's fair.
What is the position? Who are the guys you need to succeed? Let's put everything we can to help you as a first-time head coach in place, and let's all win together. And if that's Mitch Love, if it's not, whatever. And he has paid his dues. In some way, maybe I haven't or we haven't given enough respect to Huska, because if Conroy was put in a position to ascend and then take over, then certainly Huska has. He's spent a number of years.
That's not how it traditionally goes, right? It's not a normal path. I get what you're saying, and it's fine. And I think Huska, if that's the choice, that's the choice. But like, what other team is always going, oh, you work in the minors and then you work in it's not like players. You don't draft them and hang on to them as assets. They don't work their way up the ladder.
I guess all I'm saying is that my argument was, if now isn't the time for Conroy, then when is it going to be? You could argue it's the same for Huska. If he's passed over here for, say, Mitch Love, the question would have to be, well, what if I'm not the head coach now? How many? I've been 5 years assistant. What else do I need to do?
That's what I was trying to say. If Mitch Love comes in, how does Huska hang around there? Like that would have been anyway.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is, knowing Huska a little, and like, he joined me weekly for 3 of those 4 years in the American League, if not all 4, I think, on just talking American. Like, this is a guy with zero ego, and that is team first guy. I don't worry about bruised egos here, and Huska's getting the job. So in the flip situation, I wasn't worried about him as much as maybe some others were, but I also don't think he's going to be afraid, if he thinks Mitch Love is going to be able to help this team, to be like, ooh, this guy's going to be a hot contender. I can't have him on my bench. That's not the way Ryan Huska's wired. There is incredible humility and no ego.